this rivalry goes back to the fathers. That's why this fight, first of all, is why it's talked of, and because of the fathers. But then now, obviously, for me, it's the biggest fight in other than Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua.
Mm.
I'd say it's probably the biggest fight in British boxing at the moment to be made because of you just look at the noise it's making at the minute and the anticipation at the minute over it, especially with what's gone on today at the weigh-in. Um, it's um it's definitely got the imaginary public.
Yeah, and Scott, this is almost been building and building since the first fight was cancelled back in October 2022. It almost felt that it never went away. The talk never went away. It was always in the background. And this fight has almost been building since before Christmas time, even the talk has been on. And now that it's almost arrived at our doorstep, it feels surreal that it's actually finally happening, giving all the talk, and there's been so much talk.
Yeah, I mean, all the things that obviously with Ben being caught for the drugs and the this all what's gone on since 2022 to now has just built the fight to the magnitude it's at. Um, it's obviously they're going on about these talks whether the weight the two totally different weights and he's a 147, Chris is a middleweight, but it's this is what happens in boxing when you get fights that are it's mad in a way because are these two world elite fighters? None of them have really proven, especially Conor. He's not really. Who is he beat? Tell me who he's beat.
I think I was just looking through it there. I think he just has one win against Chris Aligre that I spotted.
Well,
Uh,
what I mean is he's beat Chris Algieri and I
yeah,
think he beat Chris Van Hayden. Both of them way um way past the prime.
yeah.
He's not really. I mean, he's not even fought for a British title. By the way, this is not taking anything away from Conor. Do you know, he's improved a hell of a lot. Um he's been doing what he's been doing. Um, but when you look at the actual pedigree of the fighters of what each fighter's done, Eubanks, you'd be silly not to be backing Eubank.
Mm.
So he's fought at the higher
Yeah.
level. He's been in real fights. Um, okay, he's come up short. He come up short against George Groves. He's come up short a couple of times, but there's other than him potentially the weight having an effect on him. I really don't see um, how you can favour Ben over Eubank in this fight.
Yeah. And I suppose, Scott, we're seeing some real psychologically and mental aspects come in play. While we know Conor Benn is focused, he's one motivation in terms of revenge to prove himself and to get to at least status. There seems to be an awful lot going on with Chris Eubank Jr. This week. He's spoken about the relationship with his father. He's spoken about the death of his brother. He's spoken about real sort of thing. He's really opened up and makes you start to wonder the state of mind the fighter is in terms and the whole waiting now on top of that as well. Is that maybe something that are question marks? We know what state of mind Ben is going into this fight. He's totally focused. But you think
Yeah.
the same question could be asked about Eubank?
Now, a lot of people would ask that question. For me, I think that will fuel Eubank and focus him more. That's just, but I have a different opinion to a lot of people that I've spoke to, and again, the only one thing that I believe that could be in the subconsciously be a bit of a hindrance is his dad. You know, the negative relationship he's got with his dad at the minute, but that's the only thing that I can say that I think could derail him a bit, focus wise. But I do think, obviously, especially his brother, he was very close to his brother. I believe that, and the motivation from that, obviously everybody doubting him regarding the weight and all these everything that's put against him, where he feeds off that. I don't think it will that will be a detriment to him. I think he'll feed off that. Now obviously he's a bit of a pain that he can't weigh more than 170 until in the morning. That's going to be a bit of a nuisance for him. I think that will have a slight effect. But when they get in the ring, I do think the longer the fight goes, I think it's Eubank's fight. The longer the fight goes, I think Conor's dangerous in the first 4 rounds.
I suppose, Scott, we mentioned that, and I'm just looking at Conor Benn's record in terms of knockouts, and people talk about power. When you're fighting a natural middleweight, and Chris Eubank Jr. could actually make super middleweight, he could actually make that
Yeah,
sort of bracket as well. Does Conor Benn really have the power to hurt someone like a Chris Eubank,
no,
who's a
no,
natural?
and again, and at the same time, I make that comment, and I still stick with it. I think the first 4 rounds, he'll be his most dangerous. I also think Eubank will be his most vulnerable in the first 4 rounds. That's my that's mainly more where I'm basing it off. The Since coming back, after Ben's, I mean, has he had 2 fights since he's thing, or has he had 3?
I think it's
Since
three. I
it's
think it's three.
3, yeah. Um, he's not budged anyone. You know, and Eubank's a tough man. He's been down in the gym when years back when he come down sparring Liam Smith. I think he sparred um Callum Smith, Paul Smith, I think, and he's a tough man. And I don't see, as long as the weight's not zapped him, I don't see Connor budging him at all.
And I
But
suppose
like I say, I think the first 4 rounds it'll be where Chris will be his most vulnerable, just while he gets into the fight. The longer the fight goes, I think if it goes past 6, 7 rounds, Eubank wins by stoppage.
okay. I suppose, Scott, another intriguing point that was made about Chris Eubank, and I suppose we all know he had raw natural ability, but people have said that his time under Roy Jones, training under Roy Jones Jr., and that has improved him, and the effect that Roy Jones Jr. has on him has probably made him a better fighter. Do you think we'll see that? Do you think the Chris Eubank Jr. before training with Roy Jones Jr. and the Chris Eubank training after Roy Jones Jr. is a better fighter?
If you look over the years, Eubank he can be his own worst enemy. What I mean is he's super fit. He's got natural talent, and sometimes you've seen him in the past when Ronnie Davis was his coach. He'd just be doing his own thing. So he has natural raw ability, which can work for him at times, and he has got that dog in him. I think when linking up with Jones, he had respect. He's got respect for him, so he listened. He takes things on board, and the respect he has. So I do believe he's improved. He's improved his game, but again on the night, it all depends which Eubank turns up, and with a fight of this magnitude, you can do all the preparation, yeah, and you just got to do what you know, do what you need to do, yeah. Don't lose your cool and stray away. But again, um, I think he's definitely become a better fighter for it, but he could also revert back to the old Eubank as well.
Yeah. And Scott, I'm just sort of intrigued. We know Eddie Hearn's a great promoter and a great showman in terms of how he sort of promotes the fights. But I'm just thinking to myself, times with even Tyson Fury, John Fury was a bit of a distraction in terms of Tyson, in terms of what he hogging the limelight. Do you think maybe that the bitterness and the ongoing rivalry between Chris Eubank and Eddie Hearn, is that a bit of a taking away from Conor Benn, taking away the focus? Should Eddie be more in the background, really?
Look, obviously, I was promoted by Eddie, and like he's like him or hate him, he's very good at what he does. Yeah, and him taking the some of the spotlight off Connor, as in not as in taking the spotlight off him, but taking a bit of the heat off and taking some of Eubank's focus onto Eddie, and he knows what he's doing.
I get
He knows what he's doing. He's not stupid. He's getting inside. We're trying to get inside Chrissy's head, um, these are all little games. And he's mainly he's not taking anything away from Connor and or in anything like that. He's just more just instead of Chris focusing on Connor, and he's he's trying to get in. But to be fair, Chris has been keeping his cool, and like I say, not really letting Eddie talk. Or yeah, you've seen a couple of the presses and that. But it's all part of it's all mind games. And fight week is all mind games, especially with a fight of this magnitude.
Okay. And Scott, before I let you go, I'm just curious to see, you mentioned how the fight might play out in your eyes, but do you think maybe from the start that Conor Benn is going to come out all guns blazing? He's going to take the center of the ring and try and make Eubank fight against the ropes on the back foot? And do you think what Eubank is going to relate to the jab? Is he going to fight on the back? Eubank is going to keep the distance and jab while Ben is going to try and get in close and make it a scrap?
Yeah, I think first round Ben will just fly out, kind of reckless as well. Um, in one sense, he'll literally try and make a bit of a bit of an impression. Um, however that goes, um, will determine the first 4 rounds. I do think Eubank will be wary, get behind his jab, not run, but behind his jab, and I just think it'll see how that plays out. Um, but I do expect Ben to fly out, because I think emotionally, um, he's he's the one that I feel like will lose his cool first.
Okay. And Scott, second last question. The aftermath of this fight for both fighters. For Conor Benn, I feel if he loses, it's not the end of the world. But if Chris Eubank uses, I feel Chris Eubank has more to lose in this fight. Is that a fair reflection?
Yeah, 100%. I think if Eubank were to lose, I think he'd I believe with the amount of money that they're both making, and that Eubank's making, um, if he was to lose, I think that would yeah, I think that would be the end of him. Depending on if it were, unless it was a hell of a fight, then everyone would want to see it again. And potentially some people thought Eubank won, and some people thought Ben won. I see either way. I see a convincing winner, but I do believe Eubank stops him late.
Okay. And I suppose, Scott Quigg, lastly, I suppose, before I let you go, a big fight, a big tradition. You've had so many great fights through your years, through your career. So you've fought so many great fighters, fought fighters from Ireland as well. I suppose you've seen the Irish boxing fans. Is there any message you would like to say, before I let you go, to the boxing fans here in Ireland that might have followed your career?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate all the support, and even when obviously I fought the Irish that I did
Brampton.
fight, though, what a incredible atmosphere that they brought to the Manchester arena, whether they were cheering for me or cheering against me, which they were obviously cheering against me. What a night! And regarding the disregarding the result, obviously it didn't go my way, but what a an atmosphere and an event to be, a part of.